Welcome back to Franchise Wars. This week, no reactions, no reviews. Instead, we're going to try something new. We're going to call this One More Draft. The idea is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to try and fix some modern movie that I personally found kind of wanting in the script department. This is going to be a little bit different, and you'll see what I mean after this intro. The rules are simple. Step 1, pick a movie. Step 2, analyze the movie's problems. Step 3, attempt to rewrite certain segments of the story without messing the points of the original author. Step 4, try to make sure this doesn't end up a bad story. Yeah, this is not going to be one full, total overhaul and rewriting of the entire script of the movie chosen for this episode, Star Wars Last Jedi. The goal here is to preserve as many of Rian Johnson's objectives with the story as possible while trying to improve their execution presentation and maybe adding one or two things there to try and help maybe refocus the story towards areas where I think it needs help. I mean, the general rule of thumb here is I'm not going to take a film that I think is utter trash and try and fix it. It's going to be a movie that I think has some great potential. So, what is great about The Last Jedi that I think everybody should admit? Number 1, great actors. This cast is fantastic. We've got the heroes and the stars from The Force Awakens, and we've got them added into with guys like Benicio del Toro, Laura Dern, and Kelly Marie Tran, who does definitely have some solid skill. The second advantage this movie has is the directing. While I'm gonna give Rian Johnson a lot of guff for the writing department, his actual skills as a director are clearly very, very, very present and very on point for the movie. We've heard stories, for instance, of Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley expressing some discontent with their character's writing, but still enjoying working with him greatly, and by all accounts, he delivered a film on time, and visually speaking, this film is very, very good. And thirdly, we're going to go ahead and say that ambition is a saving grace of this movie. It's just that sometimes the ambition is let down by the writing. So, what exactly are the problems of The Last Jedi? Well, first off, we're going to go ahead and say that it's not focused on the right protagonist for the sequel trilogy. I mean, Rey and Finn are the actual leads of the sequel trilogy. I know that Luke's there, and Luke is very important and arguably the core star of Star Wars, but this is not his trilogy. He had his trilogy. It was the original. It's the best, and arguably you don't want to have him hijacking a film here. We've also got Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver, a great actor who, yes, is charismatic in his own way, but he's playing the antagonist. And quite frankly, the way he's written in this film and The Force Awakens is not in a way where he should be getting this much focus at the expense of other characters, Rey. And of course, we've also got Oscar Isaac. Again, great actor. Probably going to have multiple Academy Award nominations by the time he's done. But still, he's a supporting character. Secondly, we've got a lot of poorly thought out characterization for a good chunk of the cast. Characters who have the potential to have, one thing happen, have that ignored by the script, or are trying to send, mixed messages to the audience, mostly just so they can try and surprise us, even when really what they should be focusing on is telling a good story. I do mean this. I think that if you're a fan of, say, Finn, or Rey, or Poe, or Holdo, or Kylo, or Snoke, or basically just about everybody here, there's going to be some area where there's going to be there's not enough done here, or there's not quite enough thought put into this, or, as you'll see in the next one, I think you may be sending a message you don't want to send. The third problem here is that the film is kind of sexist and kind of racist. I mean, I know it's trying not to be. It actually very much wants to be the opposite of that. It wants to be inclusive. It wants to be diverse. It wants to be feminist. But it sticks every single person of color into a storyline where they just make things worse because they're not listening to the white woman. Seems ignorant of the fact that the film's male lead last time was, a black child slave soldier when he's lectured on child slaves and has no reaction at all for some reason. doesn't actually do a whole lot of cool stuff with Rose, even though she's supposed to be a major new character here. And in fact, it kind of seems like Rian Johnson may have been intentionally writing her as a loser character. Accidentally botches this entire pro-feminist storyline with Holdo and Poe to the extent where you can kind of argue that unfortunately the script is making Holdo seem incompetent and Poe is now a hothead, like almost like a Latino stereotype for some reason. And we're just gonna have Rey ignore the fact that the guy she's suddenly sympathetic to, tied her down to a table a few days ago, violated her mind against her will while torturing her, then killed a father figure for her, and also filleted the back of her friend when her friend was trying to save her, all while he's still being very much a neo-Nazi, all because she feels something for him when the film never actually gives her reason to feel anything for him, and kind of just seems to be operating off the idea that, yeah, Kylo's a cool guy. He's an angsty white boy. What's not to like about that? Seriously, though, I do think that if you look at the story, unfortunately we're kind of displacing our diverse leads from the last film and playing into some storylines that actually are counterproductive to the stated goals of the film. So yeah, I'm going to try and address that. So for the purposes of this small project, we're going to end up having a total of 4 videos. This one, which will cover both my initial issues with The Last Jedi and Poe's story, try and kind of get that out of the way. Then we're going to have a second film featuring Finn and Rose, kind of trying to deal with how we can modify their story to hopefully make them both more cool and more prevalent to the entire story. Then we're going to have a third video dealing with Rey and Kylo, which will try and make sure that we restructure that so that her actions actually make sense and so that he's actually a good bad guy for her and not like some weird, twisted Twilight-esque romance option. Don't worry, I'm going to try and keep some kind of romance in there for you guys, and because I think that was Rian Johnson's goal, even if I'm not entirely in agreement with it. And then we're going to have a fourth video, which is going to deal with probably the most controversial subject overall for long-term Star Wars fans. Luke. You see, I actually don't think that he's necessarily that bad. I think he's probably the best written part of the film. I just still think he is out of character, and we're going to kind of try and tie that story in with kind of an overall how to adjust the lore and the world building a little bit more to try and help the film feel a little bit more cohesive and not quite so small. Okay? So again, just to make sure we're clear on this, I'm not telling you how I would write The Last Jedi overall. I mean, I would probably start with Rey Skywalker and work my way down from there. I'm telling you how I would fix Rian Johnson's story to try and make sure that it actually works out better and isn't, as I think the film actually is, kind of badly written. So, on to trying to fix Poe's story. Part of the reason why Poe's story is sharing this video with the intro is because I've actually got a pretty quick and easy solution to most of it, and most of it requires one simple thing. We're cutting out most of his story. Don't get me wrong, I love me some Oscar Isaac. The man is a genius. But overall, we kind of need to save some more time for some of the other stories I'm going to try and tell here. And Poe's story, honestly, could have been done in the first, 10 minutes of the film and been over at that point. And you would have avoided most of the issues with Holdo's portrayal. So that's what we're doing here. We're cutting out a bunch of it to save it and to save time. So we're just going to go ahead and start off with where the film originally started off with. Poe flying out to challenge Hux and the Dreadnought and try and take them down and try and lead the bombers and to blow it up before disobeying a direct order from Leia to draw back and thus getting all the bombers killed. 2 things we're going to modify here real quickly. Hux isn't going to be sitting there doing nothing. He's going to be launching his fighters immediately. Actually, that's part of the reason why so many of the bombers died. It's going to be because Hux is still taking action because I want him to be moderately more competent. And Poe's decision here isn't just going to get the bomber fleet killed, it's also going to almost kill Finn. You see, when we get to the Finn video, I'm going to explain we're going to go with Rian Johnson's original introduction for the character, where he is in fact Paige's co-gunner, Rose's sister. He's with her on her ship, and he's actually the only survivor of the bomber squadron. This is because we're going to try and emphasize the terror and tragedy of that moment, and kind of try and wrap up most of Poe's story right here. When Poe gets back to the ship, Poe is going to be confronted by 3 people. Leia, because he disobeyed her order. Finn, because he almost got Finn killed. And in fact, instead of having Leia slap Poe here, we're going to have Finn actually punch him in the face. And then Vice Admiral Holdo, who here will try and actually bring up Poe on charges for the fact that he got her entire bomber wing killed. We're going to have her be the person in charge of the bombers. Poe is basically going to be kind of castigated here and raked over the coals, so that way we can kind of get that part of his storyline over. We don't need any mutiny story. We don't need him trying to fight back against, Holdo, who he doesn't understand. In fact, we're actually cutting out that entire part of the story entirely, and Poe just goes straight to the brig. That's his part of the first scene. We're not going to have him involved in a whole lot of stuff after this until the film goes on a little bit further. Yeah, that's most of my answer. Yeah, surprise, it turns out this is mostly going to be a Space Chase rewrite and an Admiral Holdo rewrite. So, with Holdo, it's pretty simple. We're just going to abandon the entire idea of her hiding her plans from everybody else, and she's actually just going to be straight up competent and kind of fun for most of the film before she does her sacrifice maneuver, which we're also going to fix with Rose in her video. So, Holdo does lead everybody in the space chase after Kylo has shown up and blown stuff up, but instead of just being, hey, we're going in a straight line! Yes! No one can predict we're going in a straight line for 18 hours! They can't see we're going to get out of here! No, it's a hyperspace chase. They're just going to keep on jumping into hyperspace. Yes, the First Order can stay on their heels and keep up with them, but this is more exciting, more interesting. We get to see, beautiful space vistas, binary suns, nebulas, maybe some black holes, maybe some destroyed planets. They're popping around the place and trying to actually hide from the First Order. And this, all the while, Holdo's trying to come up with a plan to actually evacuate everybody else off the ship. Maybe she even actually does start actually evacuating people. Just trying to make her competent here and make the space chase something that's actually engaging and not something that makes me want to pull my hair out and go bald. So, yeah, there's no mutiny plotline here. In fact, if we do jump back the ship, it may just be a scene where Holdo goes down to the brig where Poe is, where he's clearly stewing in his defeat, kind of acknowledging his failures and, kind of grasping his character arc and how his hotshot insubordinate mistake was bad. That we can get that in there for Rian Johnson. And she's going to say, hey, you screwed up, but I need you now. Come out of here. You're going to be in charge. This is responsibility. Don't fail it. And that's where we kind of in Poe's arc. He's going to be a hero for the rest of the story as a leader with Holdo's blessing, but in a more stern and, understandable manner. Oh, and then we actually reach the end of the space chase. Holdo's managed to disperse most of the crew, but she's still trying to preserve the material if she can, because, it is a warship, and that's when they get caught midway through by the Supremacy, which shows up, and I'm going to add in a detail here where they have gravity projectors so that the ship can't actually escape, which is why there's still crew aboard. And so when Holdo is trying to evacuate everybody desperately down to crates, it's not good. They start getting blown up, and so she tries to fight back, and then, in a tie-in to Rose's story for next film, then she finds out that she can actually do the hyperspace ram. Not because she was sitting on it for the entire time and just failed to do it, because that's stupid, but instead because Rose, aboard the Supremacy, has actually sabotaged the Supremacy's safety protocols and particle shield. So there'll be a moment where, as the space chase is going on, as Poe's trying desperately to escort everybody down to crates, while the First Order is mercilessly picking them off, and while Holdo's desperately trying to put her ship between them and the approaching Supremacy, she'll go, wait, why is the computer beeping? Particle shield is down. Hyperspace ram. This way, it actually comes off as a competent, intelligent maneuver, and also we get to tie in both Holdo as an intelligent leader and as a brave one, with Rose also being an intelligent heroine as well. Yes, that's going to be a big part of this. And that pretty much wraps up this part of the video. I've already kind of mentioned what we're going to do with Rose next time. I hope you guys enjoy that, and get ready to see part 2 of this, Finn and Rose. Thanks for watching. Check out the next video.